going on, everyone? It's Barles, and welcome back to another episode of the Weekend Forecast. Apologies for being a little bit late. It's just been a really busy week. I'm heading to America as well. Very similar to Nathan from Hat Chat. I'll be leaving in a couple of weeks. I've had plenty to deal with that, so it's been busy. So not much time has been dedicated to fantasy this week than normal, but we'll get through all the games and look at everything that's happening for round 21. Before a lot of our semi-finals, so I've obviously got a couple of semi-finals I'm in this. No, I've got one. Sorry, I've got one semi-final this week. Cash league I'm in, so hopefully I can get the win there. But yeah, so let's get stuck into everything. I will just tweet out that I'm live on Twitter, like I normally do. Give me 2 seconds. If I just share that. At least team selections wasn't too bad last night. We didn't get too many issues. I don't really think there was any, to be honest, unless someone had a Taranto, obviously, today that's out. That's probably the only big one there. No. Yeah. There we go. All right, beautiful. I've tweeted out. We are live. So let's get stuck in everything. All right, so let's have a look at all the games as we always do, and then I'll be getting to your questions at the end as well. So make sure that we all, tune into that. Simon Stats. G'day, Bars. Simon, mate, hope you're doing well. Are we worried about Brayshaw tonight not scoring well? It's a bit rainy with marks. Potentially. He still scored well last week with 100 when only 3 marks. So I don't think it's probably his ceiling score won't be there with the marks, but I think he'll still score well. I still like him as an option. But yeah, let's get stuck into all the games anyway. If you are watching live, make sure you leave a like on the video if you're enjoying the content as always. And also, if you haven't already, make sure you leave a subscribe on the channel. We are edging close to 1,000 subscribers. So if you can click the subscribe button, even if you don't watch again, it still just helps out. So that'd be very much appreciated there. So let's get stuck into Melbourne and Collingwood. So a few players obviously here from this game that people are going to own. So the first obviously one's I want to talk about is Matt Scorn. So wasn't huge last week. Had a better second half, but he was still quiet in the first half. So I still like him as an option. He's still cheap to bring in. I think he's still going to be a top 2 ruck for the rest of the year. So I certainly wouldn't be opposed to anyone looking at bringing him in this week. I don't mind Petrarca tonight, especially as a VC against Collingwood. Could go big. He looked really good last week with his 110. His tackling pressure was up again, which was good to see. So I don't mind him. Clayton Oliver as well. Obviously, he's cheap. So Clayton Oliver's 3 games he scored in a row under 100. So if you look at the scores, right? So he got 9 on against Geelong in Geelong, and that was when he broke his hand with about 5 minutes to go. So that could have been 100 there. Missed the game against Port, played against the Bulldogs. Tough game. Obviously, first game back from the thumb injury, and Bulldogs won the game. Bulldogs hard to score and he got 94. And then Fremantle last week got tagged for an 87. So I think Oliver's still a very good option. I think he'll go big this week. I think this will be his biggest score for obviously since he's been back. So I do like him as an option there. Darcy Cameron, I'd still look to move on Darcy Cameron personally. I know that he's going to be with Mason Cox getting no Grundy, but tough game against Matt Score and Luke Jackson. So that's obviously one bad thing. But the second thing is, it's like Grundy's going to come back at some point. I think he's going to come back in the next fortnight anyway. So I think he'll be back next week. So you're going to want to not have, if you've got forced trades again next week, then you're not going to be able to get him in. So I would personally be looking at still moving him on. So I had a question before from someone, would you move Sicily or Cameron? I would still be moving Cameron on before Sicily, just because you know what Sicily's doing, whereas Cameron, that role could just change at any point. So I would be still looking at moving on Darcy Cameron there. Angus Brayshaw, as Simon mentioned before, obviously rain's expected tonight. So that's probably why I'm not going to go Petrarca VC, because I don't have a Mills or anything like that. So, but Angus Brayshaw, I think he'll still score well. I think he's still going to be a top 6 defender for the rest of the year. So I still like him as an option. Maybe his ceiling score's not going to be there tonight, but I still would be picking him up, in defence if you're looking for a defender around his price, because I still think he'll still score well. He got 100 last week with only 3 marks, so I think he'll still score enough. Chippy, Crisp, he's been really disappointing, hasn't he? So since what was it? His bye, he hasn't scored over 100. So he's gone so he had that run from round 2 to round 13 where he only had the 2 scores under 100, which was an 83 in round 3 and a 99 against Essendon in round 6. Since then, he's gone 69, 83, 95, 92, 80, 64. It's just not good enough, is it? So, yeah, I'm hoping he gets. I think Melbourne's a good matchup. I think he'll get back to 100 this week, but who knows? Like he's just been really poor, hasn't he? Since then, Nick Dacos, he'll be good this week. I wouldn't move him on this week. Potentially, you could move him on next week, but I think he'll score well this week. So I'd probably hold for a week. Josh Carmichael held his spot in the 22 as well, so I would be potentially holding him. Sorry, not holding him. Sorry, putting the E on him tonight, and you never know, he could score really well. So that's what I'm doing. I've got Carmichael in my emergency. If he scores really well, I'll hold Taranto for the week. Like if he gets 100, I might get 100 from the guy I'm bringing in. So if he gets 100, then I will keep Taranto, and I'll probably move a Neil or Mcrae onto Mills. But if not, I'll probably be doing Taranto out. That's probably what I'll be looking at there. Anyone else in this game want to discuss? No, I think that's probably it. There's no one else. Maybe like DeGoey's a guy that's really, really cheap that I wouldn't personally recommend. But if people are looking for a name that's around that 600k mark, he's 603k, got an 86 last week. So I don't know, potentially, but that's sort of clutching at straws there. So moving on to the Hawthorn Gold Coast game, the first game on the Saturday. So Sicily, I think we can move him on. I think we've seen now 6 weeks in a row, only the 1 ton. He's had a few 80s, 70, and even a 69 last week there. So, or was it 67? I can't remember. 69, I think it was 69, wasn't it? Wasn't 67. No, it was 67. Sorry. Wait, no, hang on. No, that was that right? Was that right? No, 67. Okay, it was because I've swapped Crisp and that from this week. So that's why I was playing up. But yeah, 67 last week from Sicily. I'll be moving him on. I think Gold Coast at Utah is a good matchup. So if you've got like other issues, then you could deal with them first. But if you can move Sicily on, I think it's a good option. He hasn't been scoring amazing over the last little bit. So I'd be definitely looking at moving him on there. I think Tuke Mill's going to cop the tag from McGuinness this week. I don't think he's going to slow him down a great deal. I still think Tuke will get his 100, but I don't think he's going to go your 115, 120 this week. I just think he'll be clamped a little bit. So Tom Mitchell, I'm holding on to him this week. He's been good without being amazing. So obviously he's had a few weeks where he's gone under 100 and he's had a few good hundreds. I think his ceiling, I think he reminds me a bit of a Sam Walsh. His ceiling's capped at that 120, I think, this season. Obviously his high score for this season is 120, so it is. But his last two, 106, 115. The 106 against North as well, he gave away 5 free kicks. That could have been a bigger score there. Got a 96 against West Coast, 86 against Adelaide, 119 against the Giants. So he's been okay. So I would still personally, if you can move him on, you could. But Utah Stadium, Gold Coast, obviously he always plays well down at Utah's anyway. But that's all normally. So we'll see if he does it again. Averages 121.9 against Gold Coast in his career, 121.8 at Utah's Stadium. So hopefully he can put up a good score there. His scores at Utah Stadium this year, he got a 120 against Brisbane, 109 against Sydney. So he's got 2 tons there. I remember that game against Brisbane. That was the game before I brought him in. So he looked good there. So I don't mind him this week, but if you can move him on, I still would personally. Dylan Moore, I like him. He's had a couple of good games. Obviously, saved his score late last week to get to his 98. But he's been getting the job done. So he's gone, I think, is it 4 games over 98? Well, so since the bye, sorry, my nose is just really itchy. I don't know why it's so itchy. Must have a hair or something there, like dog hair or whatever. Oh, that's a bit loud. Sorry. There we go. Sorry about that. Yeah. Okay. We're all sorted. But yeah, no, since the bye's gone 105, 83, 129, 112, 104, 98. So Dylan Moore's been getting it done. I do like him as an option. Up forward, that's a bit cheaper and a bit of a different pick as well, bit of a pod there. Josh Sarong, being named for his debut for Hawthorn, so he's obviously going to be a highly sought after player. So he's the most traded in this week, 190k. Obviously, that's what we're after this time of year. Some of them we probably prefer they debut next year because then they're going to be cheap for us to start with. But unfortunately, some players get debut this late in the year and then they just don't end up being options. So, but Josh Sarong, good player to bring on your bench. Who else are we looking at here? Probably it. There's not too many fantasy options here. You've probably got a couple of Holland players, a couple of Gold Coast players. That's probably it. Guess Jared Witts, if you're still rolling with him, I think he might score okay. Noah Anderson's the other one as well that might cop the tag this week because I think it's going to be a bit easier to shut Noah Anderson down compared to Toot Miller. So that's just a bit of a left field one that they could do. But I would anticipate they're going to go to Toot Miller. So actually, I didn't say the captain options for the first game. So captain VC options for Melbourne Collingwood. I'll probably say that Clayton Oliver and Christian Petrarca are the two there. I think Gawn probably not. You could, but I'd prefer, Petrarca or Oliver are probably the two there. And then VC and captain options for this game. Obviously, they're going to be VC options. You're not going to have a captain, I don't think, play this early. But if you don't think Toot's going to get the tag, maybe you could go Toot. Mitchell could go big in this game. Could actually be his biggest score for the year. So maybe you go one of those two. But I probably wouldn't go either. So I probably wouldn't look at anyone from that game. So something going on here. Bloody itchy around the nose. It's pissed me off. Giants and Essendon in the other Saturday early game. So Taranto, obviously the big one. He's obviously out through concussion, delayed concussion. I imagine that was from that tackle on Dane Rampy. So I thought Dane Rampy should have been suspended for that tackle personally, because that was the action that the AFL were trying to remove. Not a good look, that sling action, and it's resulted in Taranto. Well, again, it might not be from that, but it looks like it's resulted in Taranto suffering from concussion. He's missing this week, so obviously he's got to be moved on. I've got to move him on. It's not been a great year for me in Taranto, that's for sure. I could have had Andrew Brayshaw instead of Taranto at that point, which meant I could have probably brought in a Callum Mills or whatever a few weeks ago when I brought Brayshaw in, but that's just sort of my year. That Taranto thing's been costing me for pretty much since round 5. So, I was going to move him on and cut ties. Turds players from this game that I like. I think Lockie Whitfield will score well in this game. Lockie Whitfield's got a good 3 weeks left. So if you sort of want to take a bit of a punt on someone, a bit of a pod, I think Lockie Whitfield could be a guy that you could look at. So that's something there. Tate, another question, just saying, g'day, mate. G'day, Tate, mate. How you going? Hope you're doing well, mate. Thanks for tuning in. Whitfield, I don't mind as a bit of a pod. I think he is still cheap as well. What's Whitfield priced at? 720. So if you've got not a lot of money and you want someone that can score well, I think Whitfield could be a guy. He's got a good run home for defenders / wingers as well. So I think Whitfield could be okay on the run home. Stephen Connelly, I don't mind picking him up as a pod because he was only out last week through soreness. So you could look at bringing him in as a bit of a pod because a lot of people jumped off. So I don't mind him. I still think he can score as a top 6 forward. So I do like him. He's a guy that I'm considering potentially bringing in for Taranto. Braden Bruce, I wouldn't bring him in now because Briggs is obviously in the team, but I think that you can, you probably got to hold. There's probably, if you can move on, then you could move to a Marshall, which I would definitely do. Bruce to Marshall would be something I'd definitely do, but something like that you could do. But Brucey, I just don't want to be on that roller coaster personally. Is that Merritt? Obviously, Parrish back in. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Because he's been scoring really well since Parrish has been out. So I think Merritt will still be good anyway. But I think he could cop that tag from Lockie Ash, who's coming in. So he's very expensive. I'd probably go for Oliver, who's a bit cheaper and got a great matchup this week over Merritt. And that's only because I think Merritt could cop an Ash tag this week because I don't think they're going to go to Parrish. I think they're going to go to Merritt because of how good he was last week. 135 points a second after. So good. But if he doesn't cop a tag, Giants good matchup and he'll score well. So that's just something to flag there. VC, Merritt would be a good VC because then you can see if he gets the tag or not. Merritt is very expensive now. Harry Himmelberg. So obviously played forward, started the game last week, went back in defence second half. I think he will play defence this week. I think you look at the ins, Briggs and Riccardi have come in, and then you've also got like Callum Brown, who was playing defence, is out of the team, and Jacob Ware is injured. And he was just sort of like a winger slash defender. So I think that he will go back into defence, Himmelberg, and score well for us again. So I wouldn't be worrying too much. If he plays forward this week, then that would be a concern, and you'd be looking to move off the week after. And in terms of captain VC options, I think Zach Merritt is probably the standout there that could go big if he doesn't get the tag. I don't mind like a roughie if like you've got a Coniglio that maybe plays full-time mid and has a big score, but I wouldn't be looking at that. I'll be looking at Merritt as my only option in this game here. So next game, Bulldogs and Fremantle. So the twilight game on Saturday. So who have we got here? So Adam Treloar's back in the side. He's been named at halfback flank as well. So let's see, obviously, with Caleb Daniel, Bailey Dale, and Adam Treloar there. Let's see if Treloar does keep that role, because if he does, that's interesting. That could mean that he might get defender status next year. So let's just see if this continues. Sam Darcy has been named for his debut. I thought he was playing up forward, but it says he's been named at halfback. So I'm not sure exactly with that, but make his debut. Obviously frustrating for all of us fantasy coaches. We wanted him debuting next year because he would have been really cheap that we could have had. But unfortunately, some of these players we know just debut late in the year, so we don't get them cheap next year. But it's good for him. Good for him. Excited to see what he can do. Bailey Dale, Fremantle give up points defenders, so I think he could be a bit of a good option this week. And if you've already got him, I think he'll score well. Tom Liberatore, 2 up and down for mine to really consider an option. Freo tough for midfielders as well, so I wouldn't be looking at him. Bailey Smith, obviously poor last week. That's now his second poor score in his last 4 games he's played. So not great. I think he'll still average 105 for the rest of the year, but it is frustrating when he was averaging over 115 for the first half of the year, and then since that headbutt, it's just pretty much gone down. So yeah, pretty much when I brought him in is when it started going down. So I don't think I actually got too many big. Actually, how many big scores did I get from him? So I brought him in against the Crows, and he was on 45 points at quarter time. Then just didn't do anything much after that. So I got a couple of 100, 100, 116, 118. Then he got the 6-3 against Geelong. He was obviously out against West Coast. I think I held him that week as well. And then he got the 200s when he came back, then the 65. But hopefully he gets back on track this week. The one thing that just has been puzzling me, though, is so the first 10 rounds, he was playing 91+% game time in every game bar round 1, when he obviously his role changed in round 2. But he played high 90% game time for all those games. Since he's from round 12, since he missed that game, he was sick. He's gone 83, 84, 82, 83% game time. I don't really get what's up with that. I don't know why it's shifted to he's had less game time because he was running out games really well. But yeah, just something to monitor. But yeah, Andrew Brayshaw, fantastic last week. I still like him as an option regardless of the matchup. And yeah, 137 last week looked fantastic in the wet. I didn't think he was going to take that many marks, but he did it. We know that he likes getting around the ground for those little chip marks. Plus, he can lay a lot of tackles. So he's got that high ceiling, which is obviously very handy for your captain and your VC decisions. As I said, Bulldogs tough matchup, but I think Brayshaw will still be good. Josh Dunkley, first big score in a while last week, 119 against Geelong. And Geelong, he was the only real dog that ended up going big. So he's obviously dropped in price a fair bit when he got up to really high. What was he? 961 at one point, and that was just before he got the 62 against Port. So since round 9, he's only had the one score over 120. So his ceiling has been capped. The only game was that West Coast game. I think I actually had him captain that week as well, but he's gone since that West Coast game. He's gone 84, 107, 105, 113, 68, 87, 102, 119, which is great for a forward, but it's showing he's not really that captain option anymore like he was at the start of the year. And he has been that throughout most of his career, where he's been a huge scorer in one half of the year, and then his scoring has tailed off the back end, or it's been the other way around, poor start and then big finish. So yeah, he's still in the top 6 forward, so you're not trading him out. But it is funny that those splits. Hayden Young, he's been fantastic this year. Freeman, I've got some good matchups to finish. So him and Luke Ryan, I don't mind as pod options because they have got Bulldogs who go up points, West Coast and Giants. So 3 really good games. I think I'd almost prefer Hayden Young because he's got that safe floor. His lowest score this year was a 70. 58 against West Coast. That was in round 3. But since he missed a couple of weeks. I think I don't know if that's COVID, but since round 8, he's only had one score under 80, and that was against Port, and they're really restricted. But he hasn't had a lot of big scores. Had those 2 scores over 119, but yeah, him and Luke Ryan as well. Luke Ryan's been quite good the last 4 or 5 weeks, I think. So what's he been doing? So he's gone in his last 5 weeks, 83, 74, 101, 124, 98. So he's got Bulldogs, West Coast Giants, as I said, with Young. So good matchups. Pod option, if you want to go someone really different that could score well, I don't mind those 2 there. Speaking of English, he's been really poor since he's been back from concussion. So he obviously had that one good score against Melbourne with the 116, but since he's been out the 4 games, 99, 58, 116, 73. So he just hasn't looked the same. Hopefully he can get back on track, but he has got tough matchups to finish the year for tough matchups to finish. So hopefully he can still score well enough. Otherwise, you could potentially be a trade-out option if he doesn't score well, I don't think, this week. Bont obviously had a corky last week. Let's see if that affects him too much this week. I think he'll be fine. I think he'll play. He's been named, so I would imagine he will. Freo, tough matchup for midfielders. But I think because both of them are tough matchups, maybe that it cancels each other out. Maybe it's a high-scoring fantasy game. That's sort of what I'm hoping for. So I think Bont will do well. He's been scoring well besides last week with the Bulldogs trying to get to the finals. Jack Mcrae, again, last week was very poor again. He just hasn't had that ceiling that he has this year. He's only averaging, what's he averaging? Like 105 for the year, which is nowhere near what we've seen Mcrae in years past. He's got a lot of hundreds there, but years past he's had a lot of 110, 115, 120s or above, whereas a lot this year have been your basic hundreds, like your 103 against Carlton, your 107 against West Coast, 108 against St Kilda, 101 against Melbourne. He's got some like 110s in there as well, like against Port Adelaide, whatever. He's got a few big scores as well, but nothing like what we've seen in the past. So hopefully he can score well. He's got 2 good matchups finished the year in Giants and Hawthorn. So that's why I'm holding him. But if you want to move on, there's definitely no qualms in moving him on because he just hasn't been that guy. And if you're moving on to a Mills, Took, Laird, Brayshaw, Merritt, someone like that, you're going to be getting some good scores from them over a Mcrae. So Will Brodie's been consistent. I just don't see how you can trade Will Brodie out at this point because you're not going to be upgrading much else on the other end. So I'd put a tweet out, was it last week? I think it was last week. I said since he got the 64 against Geelong, he's gone 104, 102, 128, 83, 82, 86, 117, 104, 93, 91, 105, 104. So he's just been super consistent. Like he had those 3 scores in the 80s between round 11 and 13, but every other game's been over 90. So you're not trading him out. He's just as consistent as they come, really, even with that low time on ground. He had low time. He only had 64% last week. He's still got a 104. So he's great. I'm not touching him. And Nod's back. So there you go. So Nod's back in the team for them. So in terms of VC and captain option for this game, I don't mind any Brayshaw under the roof at Marvel. I know Bulldogs is a tough game, but I think that, as I said before, maybe these 2 teams being so restrictive normally, it cancels each other out and it's quite a high-scoring, free-flowing game of footy. So hopefully it will be. And I think Andrew Brayshaw could be big. So I'm looking at him as my VC this week. I wouldn't go a Mcrae. Like, you never know. You could chuck a VC on this week and he goes huge. But like Bond, I wouldn't after that Corky. I'd look at other options. And Dunkley, I probably wouldn't. But he scored well last week. So there's something there. But yeah, probably Andrew Brayshaw's the only guy there. So I just had a saw as well. So the Sunday teams have come through. So Sunday teams, let's go quickly through them. So for North Melbourne and Sydney. So North Melbourne, Aidan Call, Paul Curtis, Aaron Hall, and Lockie Young come in the side. So Aaron Hall back for them. Jackson Archer's out injured. Aidan Bonner dropped. Phoenix Spicer dropped. Kane Turner dropped. And Josh Walker is out as a medi sub. So if anyone was worried about Kane Turner going to someone, then he's been dropped anyway, so it doesn't matter. And then for Sydney, Logan McDonald's come into the side. Joel Amarty's been dropped. And Josh Kennedy is out as a medi sub. So nothing really to note there except for Aaron Hall come back into the side. Brisbane and Carlton. So you've got Daniel Rich and Brandon Starcevich coming to the side. Nakai Cockatoo's been dropped. Darcy Fort's out as a medi sub, and Mitch Robinson has been dropped. And then for Carlton, Paddy Dow, Caleb Marchbank, Jack Martin, and Jack Nunes are in. So Corey Dern's out managed, but I imagine that was just from that shoulder injury that he had. So maybe only misses a week. Matt Kenny's injured. Nick Newman injured. Mark Pitney's been managed. That seems really strange. That's after 1 week. He had one game and he's been rested. So, and Lockie Plowman's been dropped as well. So I know that obviously we know Cripper scores a lot better with Pitney in the side. So, but I know that obviously Hewitt and Kenny are out. So maybe Cripps will be fine, but that is something to sort of note there. Did I? And I didn't say Hewitt, did I? I don't think I said no. George Hewitt. So George Hewitt's not in again. So yeah. So and Lockie Neal as well. I don't think he'll get tagged. So I don't mind Neal again this week. And then West Coast and Adelaide. So so Josh Kenny comes back in for his final game. Obviously legend of the game. Good luck to him as a Crows supporter. I don't really want him to go on a win, but hey, I guess we'll see what happens. Zach Langdon, Sam Petrovski, Seat comes to the side. So Jai Cully's out through suspension. Hugh Dixon's out as a medi sub. Jack Petrocelli's injured, and Connor West is injured as well. And then for the Crows, no changes. Ben Davis is out as a medi sub. So that means Tom Duday is not back in the side again. So they decided not to bring him in, and Steelthorpe's not in either. So there you go. Yeah, cover interesting decision there as a Crows supporter, but there you go. Okay, so let's move on to the night games on Saturday night, and then we'll get into your questions as well. So thank you for putting your questions in the live chat as well. If you've got any questions, if you're watching live, put them in the live chat, and I'll get to them once we've got through these last few games. And also leave a like on the video if you're enjoying the video, and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. So Geelong St Kilda is the first one that we'll go to here. Screech, Ware, D'Ambrosio, Soligo, Callum Brown, Fat and Bench. Yeah, and they're not even, and you only got Soligo is the only one that's playing. Obviously, D'Ambrosio's not playing, Ware's not playing, Callum Brown's not playing. So yeah, hopefully you can get rid of those Screech before the end of the season. But yeah, so let's have a look at this. So Geelong and St Kilda at GMHBA Stadium. Tough game for St Kilda. So Tom Stewart, if Windhager doesn't go to him, I got a feeling Windhager could go to him, which would be annoying. I would personally send him to Mitch Duncan, or maybe they send him to a Cam Guthrie instead. But I think he might go to Tom Stewart, so that would limit his ceiling. But I think Tom Stewart, if he doesn't get the tag, will score well. So I don't know if I'd bring him in, but I do think he'll finish the year really well. He's got Gold Coast and West Coast to finish the year, so I think he'll be really good. Mitch Duncan, again, same with Tom Stewart. I don't know if he get the tag or not. So the one that doesn't get the tag is probably going to go big, but the one that does obviously will be hampered. So I wouldn't bring either in. I don't know if I'd bring Mitch Duncan in now anyway. I think there are a few forwards you can bring in now, but Tom Stewart I'd still look at bringing in. Maybe not this week though. Or maybe Windhager just doesn't tag. Maybe he doesn't tag and he just plays midfield. So Jack Sinclair, I don't see a tag coming at all. The only thing could be if do they send like I don't even know. Do they send a close to him? Does he do a job on him? Do they send a Mark O'Connor forward and do something on him? I don't know. I don't think so. So I think Jack Sinclair will be fine. I just don't think that he'll score well. Sorry, not score well. I don't think his ceiling will be there. Sorry, I should say. Against Geelong and Geelong, but he's obviously a top 2 defender. So if you can bring him in, I still would be bringing him in regardless. So John Segler and Reece Stanley are in there. So Ron Marshall, obviously been a highly talked about player this week. Obviously massive 163 last week. That was a struggle to watch that last week, not owning him. But from what it sounds like, they rushed Geelong, saying they rushed their team. As people said, like we've had how many years of naming your teams on Thursday night? I don't know how you can be rushed. You've got all week to decide who's going to be in the team. So I've got a feeling one of John Segler or Reece Stanley is going to be out of the team. I don't see Geelong playing Jeremy Cameron, Tom Hawkins, Reece Stanley, and John Segler and Mark Blitzhalves all in the same team. Which is not going to happen. So I think one of them's going to be laid out. I think it might be Reece Stanley. He might have come back. They might say he's in too early. They might play John Segler again. So I think Ryan Marshall will be okay. Geelong is still tough, but it's not as bad if you're playing against Segler and Stanley. But Segler and Stanley combo for Marshall, that could have been an issue. That could be an issue if they don't change anything. So Jack Steele, I'm not a huge fan of him as a VC this week or a captain because Geelong, as I've said, is a really tough game. Even when he was going big last year, I think he only had a low 100 against Geelong last year. So I wouldn't look at him this week as that there. So Dan Hanbury's actually really cheap. He's $4.71 or something. So I don't mind a play if you've got a Coniglio on your bench, going Coniglio to Hanbury and just having a good backup there. If you've got nothing to do and you've got no trades, that's something that if I could do it, I would. Yeah, my nose has been bloody itchy for all day. This is really annoying me. Maybe hay fever or something. I don't know. And yeah, and Brad Crouch as well. I haven't really thought he's a huge option, but he's been getting it done. Like he's just every week, like what he's averaging 105.5, so he's averaging more than Mcrae. And his last sort of two games, 147, 120, obviously against West Coast and Hawthorn, good matchup. So that is obviously a reason there. Geelong, Brisbane, Sydney to finish a tough finish. So I probably wouldn't bring him in. If he had a nice run, that could be something that you could consider. But yeah, I probably would look at other options. But he's been a good pod for some people as well. So yeah, in terms of VC captain options here, there's not really anyone I fancy, to be honest. Tom Stewart would have been a handy potential VC, but just with that potential win, Hager going to him, I'm just not sure that I'd be going him. Jack Sinclair, tough game against Geelong. Ryan Marshall, if it's a double ruck setup, I wouldn't be doing that. You could go Marshall if he's up against one of them. That could be something. Jack Steele is obviously going to be probably safe. He'll probably get you 100, but I don't think he'll go 120, 130 this week. He could. Obviously, he's a top 8 midfielder, but I would look at other options personally for your VC and captain. So no one really here tickles my fancy from this game. The other Saturday night game, Port Adelaide versus Richmond. So Bryn Teakle's back, which is good to see. He looked really good in his first quarter in a bit against, was it Sydney? So good to see him back in the side. He'll be, you better you could loophole him if you've got a Rutt that's not playing and you've got a Roe Bryan, you don't want to play Bryan or something. But yeah. Dan Houston's back in. I think Richmond, this game's going to be quite low scoring, I think, fantasy, because Port are really restrictive. Richmond are quite restrictive. So I don't see many high scores coming from here, but Dan Houston could be one of the guys that go big. I would look at bringing him in. He's more probably for draft. If you've got him, probably good for draft. But yeah, I'm not huge on Dan Houston there. Jaden Short moved back last week. I didn't have very many CBAs last week at all, but he still played forward, so he just hasn't got that role anymore that he was playing. They seem pretty sold with Baker, Vlostone, and Rioli there. I don't know why. He won a best and fairest. Jaden Short playing in defence in a premiership year, so I'd be moving Jaden Short back, but they're just not going to, so he's just not an option. Zach Butters, I don't mind as a cheap option that's underpriced. Obviously, he's looked pretty good since coming back. Did he get 187 or something, or has he just had the one game since being back? No, he's 4 games since being back, but he's gone 99, 72, 83, 103. So ceiling's not there, but he is 626. So if you can't afford much else, I don't mind him if that's the best you can get to. Obviously, I said Bryn Teakle. Ollie Wines got 100 last week, but I'd still look at moving him on. Personally, just hasn't obviously been what we've wanted. Oh no, sorry, didn't even get 100. He got 98. So there you go. So yeah, he hasn't got 100 in his last 4 games. And he's only got 200 since round 11. So not great at all. So yeah, definitely be moving on from him if you can. Connor Rosie's been really good though. He's the one guy that he's an option to bring in. He's been really good. So there's 400s on the trot now for Rosie's. He's expensive at $7.91 now, but he was that pick. I'm trying to think what round it was. I can't remember what round it was. It was because the first 4 weeks he scored under 60 in every game, but when he moved into the midfield, I think it was around the same week that Darcy Cameron was an option. So from round 5, round 6, he went 113, 119. He had a couple points after that, but since then he's been pretty solid, like 125, 108, 100, 115 his last 4. And they've been against a couple of them have been obviously good hundreds, like 115 last week, 125 against the Giants. So I don't mind him. Richmond, Essendon, Adelaide's not a bad run home. So if you want to consider him, I do like him as an option. That's probably it from that game. As not many fancy options because they are both normally so restrictive and they're not normally high scoring fantasy teams. So I wouldn't be looking at any VC or captain options from this game. So let's move to the final 3 games on the Sunday. So North Melbourne, Sydney, this is where a lot of your VCs and captains are going to come from, I think, especially for Sydney. So you've got here, just go, because I normally have my notes, but I don't have notes today. So Callum Mills, obviously, is the top one we should start with. So he's obviously going to go massive. I wish I could bring him in this week. The only way that I can bring him in is if, who would it be? If a Josh Carmichael goes big, then maybe I can bench a Sicily, put Himmelberg back into defence and do something like that. I'd have to rely on Carmichael probably getting an 80 or more. So, which if you got an 80, I probably would do that. I'd probably hold a Sicily or that, because I can put Carmichael emergency and I can also put Sicily emergency, and then I can probably put the non-playing player that's going to play there. That could be something, but yeah, I don't see myself bringing Mills in this week, which is going to suck because I think Mills is going to go huge this week. So he's definitely a great captain or VC option there. I think Jake Lloyd will score quite well as well. Obviously, we saw Mason Redmond last week score really well. And Jake Lloyd's been getting it done enough the last few weeks. So he obviously hasn't been the same Lloyd that we've seen in years past, but in his last 4 weeks, he's gone 106, 121, 80, and 106. So, and when a lot of defenders are struggling, and North Melbourne Collingwood is next 2, I don't actually mind Lloyd as an option at 766k. But yeah, if it's somewhere where you can go like Sicily to Lloyd, but you can also get another upgrade. If you're doing like a double upgrade, if you're going like Sicily to Lloyd and then you're going, I don't know, like a Mcrae to Mills, if you can do that, I don't mind that play. But I wouldn't just go one down and then go someone up to Lloyd. If you can do like 2 moves where you get Lloyd in, that's where I'd probably get Lloyd. But Chad Warner, I think, would be quite good this week if you've got him as that pod option from a couple of weeks ago. Luke Parker, I like from this game as well. I'm actually looking at him this week. He's one of the guys that is probably going to come in for me this week. So at least I'm getting someone from that Sydney midfield. We just know what he's going to do. So I'm just looking at his CBAs from last week for Parker. So he had 17. So yeah, he was only behind Warner and Hickey. So we know Parker's role is going to be mainly in there. So I like Parker as an option. I think he's been solid without having that big ceiling this year. So in his last sort of month or so, I just want to pull that up here. So Parker in his last 5 weeks, he's gone 100, 103, 97, 114, 118. And with North Melbourne Collingwood in his next 2, I think a few more good scores are on the horizon here. Just obviously his high score this year is 123, which he's done on 2 occasions. So I wouldn't be looking at him necessarily as a VC option or a captain option because he hasn't got that ceiling, but I think he'll still score quite well, and I think he's a good option to look at bringing in. And Aaron Hall, if you want to go someone different, he was out through COVID protocols last week, so we saw he got a 120 the week before last. So I don't mind him as an option back in defence there. So if you can't get who you want, and the best you can get is Aaron Hall at 691. Only 3 games left. Sydney, Adelaide, Gold Coast. If he plays all 3, there's less risk attached when you've only got 3 weeks left compared to having 7 or 8 weeks. So I think he'll score well in all the games he plays. So he's not actually a bad option there. In terms of, again, VC captain options here, obviously Callum Mills is a standout option here. And I don't mind Luke Parker as well as a bit of a unique guy, but I just don't think Parker's got the ceiling. But then again, this could be a game where Parker does have a ceiling game. He obviously got 42 against them early in the year, but that was a very weird game. I don't really know what Parker was doing there, but Parker's been good, so I don't mind him, but I'd prefer Mills as a VC. And even Jake Lloyd, if you want to go real left field, but I'm talking real left field here, because obviously semi-finals, people want to go left field, so just throw up a couple of options for some people in these games. So Brisbane and Carlton. So Lachie Neale, obviously people have been looking at moving him on. I've had him pretty much trade out all week, but with Taranto now being out as well, I think Neil will score well this week. I think he'll give you a 110 plus, which is why when I come to my trades after, which is why I'm probably going to keep Neil now. But I think Neil, maybe next week you can move off of him, because I think he will cop the Windhager tag and then he'll cop the Harms tag in round 23. So I think he'll be an option to move after this week, but I think he'll score well regardless against Carlton, who have given up some good scores, but they've also been restrictive at the same time. But I think that he'll put up a good one this week. Kadeem Coleman's been great since he's been back, or really since the bye. He's been getting it done. And if there was any chance, I don't know if Rich is going to retire. I don't think he retire. I think it's too early for Rich retiring, but he's been injured a fair bit. But if not, Kadeem Coleman, since round 13, has gone 94, 90, 105, 102, 95. He was injured at the back end of the game last week. He was on 89 at 3/4 time. So that could have been a lot bigger. I don't know what went up with that, but he's fit for the game, so he's fine. Dane Zorko, isn't a bad option, especially if you can go if you've got nothing on your bench and you can go like a Sicily down to Zorko, pocket you about 100K, and then you can go like a Mcrae to Mills or Took, or maybe not Took this week, but something like that on the other end. I don't mind that play. So he's gone 86, 97 since being back. Again, the injury risk is there, but it's less important when there's only a couple of weeks to go, because it could be, but then again, it could cost you matchup. But if it's what you need to get the move you want on the other end, I don't hate that play. Patrick Crips, obviously, you're not trading him out now. 121, 139, his last two. He's been great. Pitney out could affect him, but I think that Hewitt and Kennedy being out is that's okay. I think that they're not going to really rely on him to be that backup ruckman that he has been when Pitney's been out, because you really only got Walsh, Shearer, Crips there now. Because you normally had the 5, but now there's only the 3. So obviously Paddy Dow's there, so he's going to get some centre bounces as well. But I think Crips will be good this week. I think he put up another good score. Hubert Claggage just hasn't been getting those CBAs, and his scoring has dropped off a little bit to those stealing scores, so I wouldn't be looking at him anymore as an option. Sam Doherty, he's a guy that you could put as a VC if you can afford that. It's a second last game, so you're not going to have much wiggle room before Laird plays. So I wouldn't worry about doing the VC with anyone this game. If you're going to captain, if you're going to do anything, it's going to be captain. So, but Doc, I don't mind him. I think he could score quite well against Brisbane. So yeah, I don't mind him. Lockie Neal, as I mentioned before. Sam Walsh, I don't mind him as an option as well. Obviously, good score last week. There were a lot of high scores last week. I just think Adelaide Oval was just is becoming this year. It's been like this year's version of Pig Park in a way. It's not Pig Park, obviously Pig Park, GTO Stadium, but there's been a lot of high scores there this year. We had Adelaide, Melbourne. You had Adelaide Collingwood was obviously high scoring. You had Adelaide Carlton on the weekend. There's been a lot of games there where there's been multiple 120 plus scores on there. So, but yeah, Walsh I don't mind as an option, especially with a good, nice run to end the year as a bit of a cheap option. I like him. He's a guy I might consider next week in my midfield. That's probably it from there as well. And then in terms of captain options, I don't actually mind Lockie Neal this week. People have been talking about trading him out. I actually don't mind him as a captain option because I don't think he's going to get tagged this week. I just don't see who would go to him. So I don't mind him as a captain option there. You could go Crips. I would have considered Crips if Pitney was in. But with Pitney out, there's that small flag. So I probably won't be going. I wouldn't be looking at him anymore. And the final game, West Coast and Adelaide. So Shanahan's been getting it done lately. So if you want a bit of a pod option, he's a guy that you could go. Obviously, good matchup this week against the Crows. Ben Keys playing forward now, it looks like, with a bit of a defensive forward role. Could he go to Hearn? That's something that could happen as well. So I'd be looking to move on Keys personally, even with the good matchups in the next two coming. Roy Laird, what more can we say? He's 5 games in a row of 130 plus, 8 games in a row of 120 plus, and it's annoying because the game before the run of 130s, he got 129, and the run before the games of 120s, he got 119. So it could have been one extra, but that's fine. Laird, fantastic captain option. Last game, I just don't see him getting a tag, so he'll be good once again, I think. John Dawson, I don't mind him as a pod captain, going someone different to Laird, and he's a good target as well this week. John Dawson, if you don't have him, West Coast, good matchup. North Melbourne next week. Jordan Dawson next week will be a brilliant captain option. I think could be a real good, unique to Laird. But I think this week as well, I don't mind him as a different captain option there. Riley O'Brien, if you've got him, I'd hold him this week. He does generally score well against Nat Nui. He's got a pretty good record against him. So I would probably hold him this week. What's he? He only got a 62 last week, but yeah, he's got West Coast, North Melbourne, and Port, and he actually averages over 94 against all those 3 opponents when he normally struggles against other teams. So I don't mind O'Brien this week. And yeah, probably it. But yeah, so captain options, obviously Laird and Dawson are probably your 2, but Laird's probably going to be the one there that you probably really look at. So there you go. That's all the games done. That was pretty normally it takes a little bit longer for the wrap up of the games, but that's fine. Always happy to get through them a little bit quicker anyway. So let's get into some of your questions anyway. I probably won't be live on the Twitter Spaces tonight. So if you have got any questions, ask them now because I don't think I'll be doing them. I'll be out for dinner unless I go live, unless I do it in like 15 minutes and then maybe we go for half an hour and then I head off. So maybe, I don't know, we might do something like that. But let's see how we go. So mini monk, mate, hope you're going well. Actually, where are you, mate? Where are you ranked, mate? Are you still in the top 50? Yeah, 41st, mate. So good stuff, mate. You're on track for a hat, mate, and you might even still get in the top 10. So thoughts on Ellis? Brendan Ellis. He's got a nice run to finish the year. I don't know. It's left field. It's a pod option. So what's Ellis been doing? That's the question. So Ellis has got Hawthorn, Geelong, and North Melbourne. Geelong was a bit tougher, but Hawthorn, North Melbourne are good matchups. 108, 78, 105, 76, 78. I personally wouldn't. If you do it round 23 against North Melbourne, could be an option where you just bring him in for the one game. But I don't know. I probably wouldn't look at him. I'd probably look at other options. But hey, if you're hot on him, then I don't mind doing that. Andrew Griffiths, move Rob or Sicily. So I would, if Sicily's going to defend, if it depends who you're going to, I think, in that situation. So if you're going Rob to Marshall and then you're going Sicily to Brayshaw, I'd go Rob to Marshall because I think Marshall's got the bigger ceiling. But because both have got good matchups this week, so I probably would move Sicily on first because I think you can get your defenders there. But if you've already got Marshall, then that would make it easy. I'd go Sicily out first. But if you don't have Marshall, that makes it a little bit more tricky. So, but yeah, I'd probably go Sicily first. But yeah, it is a tough one there. Mr. Ronnie 41. Hey, Bales, Keys or Martin to any forward or mid except Merritt? Cheers, dude. So, Keys or Martin? So I'm assuming obviously that's Nick Martin. Who would I go? What's Nick Martin been doing lately? Let's have a look. So Nick Martin, 48, 92, 82, 60. Yeah, I'd be going Nick Martin first, personally. Ronnie, mate, I'd be keeping Keys. I know Keys probably hasn't got the ceiling with playing forward, but I would be keeping Keys because he's still got two good matchups. So even if he's playing forward, I think he can still score quite well. So I'd be moving Nick Martin on first there. Charlie Bodchick asks, is Dan Hanbury a good downgrade option getting a 91 first game back? I wouldn't be going someone on your field down to him. The only way that I would even consider Hanbury would be if I'd be going a Saligo or a Connor McDonald or someone on your bench to Hanbury because he's got a ceiling there that he could get you 110, you take that score, and he could get you 9, could be a good bench option. So that would be something where if I was at the top, that would be something that you could consider if you've got no issues. But yeah, I wouldn't go someone down personally. I just think it's too risky because if he gets injured or something happens, then you're going to have to move him on and that could create issues. So I wouldn't. But if it's on your bench, I don't hate that option. Joe Keys, Taranto to Marshall and Sicily to Lloyd, VC Stewart into Laird. Taranto to Marshall, yep. Sicily to Lloyd, yep. And VC Stewart into Laird. And that's the situation where I do like the Lloyd pick because you're going Taranto up to Marshall and you've got cash left over to go Sicily to Lloyd. So that's where I'd definitely be ticking the Lloyd thing off. VC Stewart into Laird. I don't mind the VC of Stewart. It's something different, something unique. If you're just that confident in Laird, you're just going to go Laird captain anyway, which I think, why wouldn't you? I don't mind the Stewart thing because if he doesn't get the tag, I think he could be big. But in saying that, he could cut the Windhager tag. So maybe not. Maybe look for someone else. But if you just are going Laird captain pretty much no matter what, unless he's going to go big, then yeah, you could go Stewart VC. I don't mind that as a bit of a different play. Jordan Greenwood. Hey, Bales, thoughts on bringing in Stewart versus Brayshaw this week? Saints are easy to score against, but worried about an Owens take. Oh, yeah, so Owens as well, not Windhager. What am I talking? I keep saying Windhager. Owens, sorry. Owens is the guy that I've been thinking of. Apologies for anyone that's been listening to that. I've been saying Windhager. Stewart getting the Windhager tag. Yeah, the Owens tag. Yeah, sorry. He could got the Owens tag. I think St Kilda would be silly not to put Owens onto him. So I personally would actually probably bring Angus Brayshaw in this week. So I think against Collingwood, easier matchup. He's got pretty good matchups as well. Rest of the year, Angus Brayshaw, he's been great. I think he played midfield tonight as well. So I like him. I don't think his ceiling will be there tonight with the maybe rain expected, but I think he can tackle his way to a good score. So yeah, I would be going Angus Brayshaw over Stewart this week. The last 2 weeks, I think Stewart's going to score more rest of season, but I think because they're both close, I'd be going Brayshaw. Jacob Holz, I hope I've said that correctly. Chera 100 plus every week from now with no Hewitt. Yeah, I don't mind Chera as a bit of a unique pick as well. I didn't talk about him actually during the Carlton when I was looking at that game. So what's Chera's price? So Chera's priced at $6.68. So he's really cheap, and he's gone 110, 100 in his last two without Hewitt. So I don't actually, that's actually not a bad pickup, Jacob, there. So I don't mind Chera, and then maybe you could move him out when Hewitt comes back. And then if Kenny's not in the team, then maybe Chera just picks up those CBOs that Kenny has anyway. So I don't actually mind Chera there as a cheap guy. If you can go like Mcrae down and you go someone up or whatever, that I don't mind that. But I wouldn't go Mcrae or someone down because you're probably not gaining much. But I would, if you've got Nick Martin still, if you've got a defender or a forward that you can swap in your midfield that's cheap, the Chera's the best you can get to, I don't mind that. But in certain situations, probably if you can only afford a 668 mid, I think Chera's a decent pick. Screech, I'm with you this week, Bales, keeping Darcy, Cameron, and Sicily and trading out Neil. Mind you, I have McCluggage, so not for everybody. Yeah. I don't know. I'd probably still move Sicily on over Neil because I think Neil will score well this week. If you can still move Neil next week, I think Neil will still score well this week. Because if he goes 120 this week, which I think he could do, then you might lose those points this week, but you can move him next week. So I probably would hold him this week, but Darcy Cameron, I'd move on regardless. I know that he's solo ruck, but it's against Melbourne and Grundy's going to be back. So I'd be moving him on still. Andrew Griffiths, Marshall or Max? I'd go... I think they're the top two rucks. Marshall or Max? I think I'd go Marshall just for the ceiling. Max got the better matchup this week against Collingwood, but I think Marshall has got that ceiling we've seen it, whereas Max has got the ceiling as well. I'm definitely not saying that, but I think Marshall is just pure solo ruck. I'd be doing it. But obviously, something I would flag, there's always every chance that St Kilda go, Segler and Stanley are playing. We're just going to bring Tom Campbell in to cancel out. So that's just something to flag there. But I would probably go Marshall there. So Screech, Neil and Ware to Oliver and Josh Sarong with 250k in the bank. Plan is to do another one up, one down next week, and then double upgrade the final round if all goes to plan, which it won't. Lol. Yeah. I do like those trades. Neil to Oliver and then Ware to Sarong obviously pockets your money, but I don't know. If you can go someone else to Oliver, I probably would do that instead this week and then move Neil next week. If you can move Sicily to Oliver in any way by flicking people, then I'd almost do that. But yeah, the Neil one's tough because I think he'll still score well this week. So it just depends. What have we got here? Simon Stacks, does Pitney out affect Walsh? I don't think it affects Walsh. I think it affects Crips more because Crips has normally been that guy that takes some ruck contest, but I don't think it affects Walsh at all. I think Walsh will be fine. I think he'd be good for SE, and I don't mind him as an option there under 850k. Mr. The Jet, thoughts on a cheap under 700k pods? Brodie Smith, Rowbottom, Chera. So Brodie Smith was obviously very good last week. Brodie Smith actually not a bad shout considering that they've got some nice matchups to come, obviously with West Coast this week and then North Melbourne next week. So he's gone, but I personally wouldn't because he got 63 the week before. He got 94, 98, 72, 69, 66 since the bye. So he's been very up and down. He's obviously shown the ceiling there, but I'd look at other options. Rowbottom, what's Rowbottom been doing? I know Rowbottom scored well last week with a 129. 105 the week before, then you got a couple of 70s, a 50, a 70, a 60. I wouldn't go Rowbottom. I'd go Chera. I think Chera's a really good pick if you're looking at someone under 700k. I do like him there. John Greenwood, thanks, mate. Good luck for the weekend. Thanks, John, mate. You too. Hope you go well. Hopefully, if you're in any of your league matchups, you go well there. Screech, sorry, change my trades. Thoughts on trading Proust to Marshall and Ware to Josh Sarong? I like that. I do like that. You're getting rid of the Proust headache. You're getting Marshall in. And you're going Ware to Sarong. You've still got money in the bank as well, Screech, and you can also go Neil up next week. So I do like that. I like those trades better personally. So there you go. Unless there's anything else, I think it's probably it. I'll go through my trades now, but if anyone's got any last-minute questions, leave them in the live chat, and I'll get to them. I know Simon's just put one there, but I'll go through my trades first, and then I'll get to the last couple, and then that'll probably be it. So my moves. So I should have put a poll up earlier. Probably not much point now. But actually, I might quickly put a poll up actually. So we're going to go. I just want to see what people do. I have a fair idea of what I'm doing. Just be interesting to see what people would do. Yeah. There we go. Just put up a poll there. So if you want to go vote on that last couple of minutes, just interested to see what people would do. I've got a fair idea of what I'm doing. But yeah, with my trades, obviously they're the three options. My first trade, I'm going Tim Taranto to Ryan Marshall, making that switch. I won't be locking that in obviously till tomorrow. And then my second trade will be one of those three I've just put up there. But I think I'll be going Sicily to Parker. I think Parker with the North Melbourne matchup, Collingwood the week after. I think that's probably the better scenario. Obviously, I could go to Brayshaw tonight. I think with the wet weather, that probably puts me off a tiny bit. And then I would love to go Neil to Mills. I just think trading Neil over Sicily is probably the wrong call. Even though I'm getting Mills, if Neil gets a 120, and even if Mills gets a 130, and then Sicily gets a 60, but then I know Parker gets a 120, I've lost out. So I do think that Parker and Neil is a better combo than Mills and Sicily, I think. That's personally what I think. But yeah, interested to see what you guys think. So they're my trades. And then if me not bringing in Mills is probably meaning I'm probably going to have to VC Andrew Brayshaw. I could go Petrarca tonight. I just feel that from the wet weather that I've heard that's going to be there tonight, I just feel like it's probably not the right call to go Petrarca, especially when he does get those marks to get those big scores. So, yeah, raining 12 degrees, 93% rain for the rest of today. And it's pretty much going to be raining for the rest of the night. So, yeah, it is a bit concerning. That's where Carmichael could actually still score quite well. So if Carmichael scores really well, I could go a Taranto to Marshall and then go Neil up to Mills that way. That could be something there. But yeah, that's probably what I'm going to do there. So that's what I'm looking at. And then Laird will be my captain heading into this week. So, obviously I've got a game in my own league, cash league, semi-final. I lost last week, got absolutely smacked. But the guy played had, did he have Marshall and Merritt? I can't remember if he did. Let me have a look. I definitely know he had Merritt, the guy played. But did he have Marshall as well? No, he didn't. But he just had a lot of people get 110s. Whereas a lot of my guys like, Himmelberg, Taranto, Smith, Bont, Gorn, Crips, Mcrae, all scored 190. So, yeah, not great when all your players that you've got that your opponent doesn't have score poorly. So, poll, yeah, exactly what I thought. No one's even voting Neil to Mills. People were saying Sicily to Parker or Sicily to Angus Brayshaw. So 5 votes, 60% Sicily to Parker, and then Sicily to Brayshaw's got 40%. Neil to Mills got 0%. So the only reason you get Mills in is for that VC, but I think Brayshaw or Petrarca could be that guy anyway. They'll just go this week. So Simon Stacks, the final question says Lloyd and Viney or Brayshaw and Walsh. I'd be going Brayshaw Walsh there. I know that Viney could go okay, but I would prefer Angus Brayshaw in that scenario, and then Sam Walsh. What's Viney priced at? 841, and he has been good lately. So he's gone 118, 83, 127, 104, 72, 120. He does have those 80s in him, so that's why I wouldn't look at him there. I don't know if you could go Lloyd and Brayshaw, but I'd go Brayshaw and Walsh there. I think Walsh should be good. He's got some good matchups to finish, and I do like Angus Brayshaw back in defence. So that's what I'd be doing there. So last check of the poll. Okay, now it's 50%. Now it's 50-50 with Brayshaw and the Parker. So now it's actually to Parker's way. So there you go. So if you want to keep voting on that, you can. But that's probably where we're going to cut it today. Thank you for joining. Hang on, Jared's put the last couple of questions in. So thoughts on these trades, Bales, Himmelberg and Cully to Sarong and Angus Brayshaw. I don't know if I'd do that. I know obviously Cully to Sarong's good. You're getting your money on the bench, but I think Himmelberg will be good. I think if Himmelberg Jared is your worst player, then by all means, Angus Brayshaw will be good. So I'd be making that move. But I think Himmelberg, Riccardi, and Briggs back in the side. He's going to play in defence. So I'd be keeping Himmelberg. I think he's got good matchups as well for defenders to finish the year. Essendon. What was it? Essendon, Bulldogs, and Fremantle, who all give up points to defenders. I think he'll in the year quite well. But if he's your worst player, then yeah, I don't mind those trades. Well, I like those trades, but yeah, if you've got Sicily or someone instead, I'd trade them first. So there you go. But yeah, Parker's the option that people are liking, I think, more. So anyway, thank you everyone for watching. If you did enjoy the video, make sure you leave a like. How many likes actually are on the video? So we've got, turn the volume down there so it doesn't come through on the screen. We have 7 likes. So if you are watching live, we've got 8 now. So if you are watching live, make sure you leave a like on the video if you're enjoying the content. So we've got 14 people, if you want to, or 15 people. If you want to just chuck a like on the video, that'd be very much appreciated. Also, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, make sure that you do that. We're at 525, edging closer to 1,000 subscribers. So if you can help me achieve that, then thank you very much. As I said before, even if you don't watch, you just subscribe, and it helps out. So there you go. And yeah, turn notifications on so you know when I go live. Obviously, go live every Friday night for the weekend forecast, and Friday 4 p.m. Australian Central Standard Time, Sunday night for the weekend report. I'll be in Sydney Sunday night, so I'll be recording from my hotel room. So probably won't be good camera quality or mic quality, but we'll see how we go anyway. That'll just be for the one anyway. So we'll do what we can there. And yeah, so good luck for everyone this week. Good luck in your semi-finals. Hopefully you guys can win your prelims and get through. So win your semi-finals, get into your prelims, and hopefully you can rise at the rankings this week. Hopefully I can crack the top 2K this week. So thanks everyone, and good luck this week. Thanks, Jared, and you have a good week as well, mate. Thanks everyone. Have a good weekend, and we'll chat to you on Sunday night. I'm out. Cheers.